consequences. There's a consequence to every single thing that you do. And I think a lot about consequences. I think to an extreme level about consequences, action and consequences. And it's actually the reason that I sort of stopped traveling. It's one of the reasons. The main reason I stopped traveling is because, well, I haven't achieved the goals that I need to achieve. And if I'm not achieving the goals I need to achieve, then Girl 150 can't be having that kind of fun. And that's the reason I'm regulating myself. If I want to travel, then I have to achieve my goals. It's just common sense, right? You can't enjoy yourself. Well, you can. There's one thing that I want to say to you that I think will be the best thing that I'll ever say to you. And it's something that I have thought about a lot over the years. And it's that, do you ever wonder how some people get away with such bad behavior? And you think, how do they get away with this bad behavior and just come out of it completely safe and sound? Nothing, there's no backlash to what they've done. And sometimes they even end up more successful as a result of the bad things that they do. And then there are other people who just suffer really badly from the things that they do or things that happen to them. And I heard this really great, this person speaking once, and he said this, and it made so much sense to me. He said that if you think that what you're doing is wrong, then there are going to be repercussions of doing those wrong things. If you think that what you're doing is not wrong or you're not affected by those actions, then the repercussions are not going to affect you. As in, A, there may not be any repercussions, or if there are, you'll sort of swan through those repercussions. It's just all about your mentality and how you see the world. So I don't want to teach you not to care, and I don't want to teach you not to feel when you're doing something wrong. I'm just saying that's the reason why some people, I believe, get away with really bad behavior, like the psychopaths, for example, or a lot of successful people who are just not good people at all and they do really bad things, or people who cause the death and destruction of humanity. And you just think, how do they get away with this? It's because they have no sense of right and wrong. So if you have a strong sense of right and wrong, or you have a system or belief that makes you think a certain way, then you should listen to that belief system, because otherwise the repercussions of not listening to that belief system can go against you. So I think I told you the story about being in an ex-Soviet Union country once, and my passport had been taken off me when I'd tried to enter this building that I had permission to enter. And weirdly, I'd been entering that building for about a week. I don't know why suddenly they decided to, these very handsome guards, and they're very nice. These were not guards who were munching on donuts and coffee in their spare time. These were proper, they looked like soldiers, you guys. They looked like soldiers. And I often wonder, I don't think I dealt with that situation well. I was just like really haughty, like, why are you taking my passport off me? I have permission to be here. And so I didn't charm my way through that situation. I tend to treat everyone the same way. But I think there are moments when maybe charm is the wrong word. Maybe you just have to put yourself in other people's shoes and understand where they're coming from, and you can sort of get away or get yourself out of bad situations. I think these security guards were just bored, and they see a foreign girl waltzing into this building. They've got nothing better to do with their time. Nothing interesting happens in this building. I'm the only foreigner in this building. So they probably just wanted to, this is me thinking very positively, they probably just wanted to have a chin wag with me. This is what I thought about much later on. And I could have just stood there and had a nice little conversation with them. And I am 100% sure they would have returned my passport back to me. But no, righteous girl 150 thinks this is absolutely wrong. And so I was just like, this is outrageous. Why are you holding my passport? And I went upstairs, and the girl upstairs dealt with it. She went down, got my passport, and came back up. But liking people and being interested in people and being curious about people, I think can help you in many, many situations. Incidentally, one of the best videos that I think John Griffin has done was his most recent video that I caught this morning. I think there's so many jewels, and that's a great video if you have time to watch it. But that moment, and particularly when I'd arrived in the country, they'd asked me so many questions about why I was there. And again, with the lady who was the immigration control, I was like, oh, I have permission to be here. I'm a tourist, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I didn't feel scared. I wasn't scared because I wasn't doing anything wrong. But again, I think in those types of situations, you can be, I think I was calm, but I was just like, this is silly. Why are you stopping me? Kind of thing from entering. So she wasted my time. But I could have dealt with that I could have dealt with that in a different way. And I'm sure she would have just given my passport back to me, and I would have just been on my merry way. But I think that situation made me think, okay, I need to be really careful in entering countries that are not friendly in terms of accepting foreigners into the country, or have very stringent rules. As an example, there are countries that I will not visit at all, because particularly countries where there's a lot of narcotics involved, or countries where kidnappings and that type of thing happen, which is such a shame because I'm missing out on a massive region of the world. But I just think that as much as I'm street smart, there are some things that are completely going to be out of my control. And I think once you start to realize that you can have as much street smarts about you, you can be as sensible as possible, you can be as self-aware and people aware as possible, and yet some things are going to be out of your control. And being aware of that has made me become a very cautious person. And I don't know that it's been to my advantage. I've lost a lot of, I've turned down a lot of really wonderful opportunities the past few years, partly because of caution, mostly because I wanted to be near my family. I don't think that they were the right decisions. So you've got to live your life. You can't not live. You have to be fearless to a certain extent. But at the same time, be aware that some things are going to be out of control, and the people that you surround yourself by and with are going to have huge impact on your life trajectory. And that's why I wake up every day just feeling very grateful to be alive. I mean, it's a miracle that we are in this world. It's a miracle. This was sort of related to traveling. What else did I want to say about traveling? I've forgotten. I think the benefits of traveling is, when I use the word traveling, I mean going into countries that you might not necessarily go into, or doing things in a more difficult way. I'm not talking about going on holiday and sitting on a beach and sipping cocktails all day long. That's not traveling to me. That's just taking a break and relaxing. When I'm talking about traveling, I'm talking about going into a country where you don't speak the language, having to figure stuff out all on your own, things going wrong and having to overcome those wrong things. Maybe finding yourself in tricky situations where you have to have the people skills to be able to negotiate yourself out of these tricky situations. Being tired because you don't have perfect luxuries all around you, and just rolling with it and just learning on the fly. I think this is really, really important. But I wouldn't be a 19-year-old and go to a country that doesn't have the diplomatic relations that you want, has a lawlessness about it, perhaps. You want to, if you're going to travel, you want to start your traveling journey in a sensible way, in a safe place, until you build up your confidence, and then things just don't feel scary to you. So traveling is a great thing, but there are downsides to traveling as well. I think one of the things that keeps coming up, 28 minutes, I need to go to the supermarket. Today's an interesting day because after I go to the supermarket, 10:47, I'm going to do a couple of boring things, and then the drum bass ride is going to be live, so I'm going to watch that. I'm excited about that. And it's a sunny day. I think it's going to be a great day, you guys. Traveling, what was I saying? Oh, this was an important point. Oh, it's gone. Oh, yes, dopamine fix. There's this thing that currently on the internet, that people who travel, or girls who travel, they're doing it to find a really beautiful man to be with, or they're doing it for a dopamine fix, or they're running away from something, etc., etc., etc. I really don't know the scenarios of these girls and what's going on with them, but I think we need to normalize. I think this is an American thing that's happening. It's not a thing at all in the UK or in Europe. I think Americans need to normalize traveling. That's for starts. And B, maybe for some people it is a dopamine fix. And maybe for some people it is to meet really, really beautiful men. I remember when I first entered Japan. Prior to Japan, I'd traveled a little bit in Europe. But I remember when I entered Japan for the first time, this was post university. And as soon as I stepped off that plane and just saw people around me at the airport, and then when I actually arrived in the city from the airport, my mouth literally dropped open. I couldn't believe how beautiful some of these Japanese men were. And 2 days later, I went to my first club night in Shibuya, and I met the first guy, I've talked about him before, that I had a huge crush on in Tokyo. He was like my first crush in Tokyo. But I remember thinking at that moment in time, I can't believe I've missed out on the beauty of the world. It wasn't just a case of thinking, oh, some Japanese men are just absolutely striking. I remember my thinking very clearly, like, if I have missed out on Japanese beauty, what other type of beauty have I missed out on? And then there becomes this thirst and lust to just discover the whole entire world. So, yes, part of it, I think, for some people is just to see the beauty in the world. And then traveling does give you this kind of high because you are, for me, it's like a challenge that I have to constantly overcome and get better and better and better. I want greater challenges and bigger challenges. I want to push myself to my limits. And maybe part of it is that you are running away. I always feel bored being in the UK. It's just a very standard thing being here. Nothing interesting or exciting ever happens. I never feel like I'm pushing myself at all. I don't think that I've ever pushed myself in any meaningful way in the UK. And for that reason, I think my growth has stopped. So I think traveling is a really wonderful thing, but there are downsides. And the downside is that, if you can call it that, the downside is that you do find normal life very tedious and boring. I've parked myself in the UK for quite a while, and I've got used to the humdrum of daily life. I don't enjoy it. I find it boring. If you've watched my previous videos, when I've been having to deal with this house and all the boring tasks that I've had to deal with, and the daily grind, that it's just not interesting or fun to me. It's not how I want to live my life. It's boring. It's really, really boring. But if you want to get married to a traditional person who can just go through the boring aspects of life, then probably girls who love to discover the world, you either have to be on the same wavelength as them, or you have to know that they have become used to a very humdrum type of way of life. Like, as an example, I have to mention two things: the guy who loved to travel and going out at night. This week that I'm going to be going to this Jamie Wynn concert, I cannot. One of the things about it that is off-putting is that I have to be out late at night. I like to be in my bed early. I like to wake up early. My sleep is a godsend to me. My sleep is the most valuable thing to me. If you told me that tomorrow I can just go out and club until 5 a.m. in the morning at drum and bass club, I'd rather have my bed. Having said that, if I had zero responsibilities, like I was in a position where I could just do whatever I wanted, that would be fun every now and again. I'd still love to do something like that every now and again. But what I mean is that you can detox from wanting that lifestyle or that high. And now the thought of traveling only really appeals to me if I've sorted out all these other things I have to do. Otherwise, I can't feel the enjoyment of it or the excitement of it, because at the back of my mind, there's this voice of, wow, we've got to do all this other stuff first. This comes back to what I was saying. If I was someone who didn't care about that type of thing, I could travel happily, enjoy my life, and know that I have other things to do, but it wouldn't impact my traveling experiences. What I'm trying to say is that, to some extent, the way that you think can impact so many of your opportunities and the things that come your way. I could have spent these past few years traveling, and amazing things could have happened to me, all the whilst knowing that I still have to do these other things. But I'm the type of person that would like to get these other things done first before, but it hasn't worked in my favor. It hasn't done me any favors whatsoever. So who's the smart person? Is it the person who can do all those fun things whilst sort of being aware that they have to do these other things and enjoying their life and opportunities continuously coming their way and they're growing and getting better? Or is it someone who's thinking, well, I can't do this stuff because I have to first do... I think the smart person is that person, my friends. So we have to be aware of these things and know when life doesn't wait for anyone. Life waits for no man. And risk is a big part, an important part of life. Now, to finish this video off, I want to tell you that you can be that girl or boy who loves to travel, loves to live a fast-paced way of life, loves to grow and push yourself, and meet like-minded people of the opposite sex who have a similar mindset. As an example, I knew a guy who had been sent to the UK on secondment from his company from Japan. He was here for 1 year. So he worked, as the Japanese do, he worked like a dog Monday to Friday. He was working, this guy was working hard. And then from Friday night until Sunday night, I don't know what to do about this phone. From Friday night until Sunday night, this guy was traveling in Europe. Every single weekend, he was traveling. He was obsessed about traveling. So this is not a female thing, just a female thing. It's just a people thing. And if that's your passion and your obsession, then you have to find people who have a similar way of thinking and lifestyle. So everything's just about finding your match. It's not about feeling envious or jealous of people who choose to pursue that lifestyle. Those people will give up other things that you might have. They might not. They might be the smart people who do both at the same time. They might be the people who live their life to the max by having the best of all worlds. But feeling envy or irritation about these people who want to do to pursue this kind of lifestyle. It just means that they're not maybe your type of person. Or maybe you need to push yourself out of your comfort zone and experience something different and then decide. Doesn't mean that you sit from your armchair and criticize people if you haven't experienced what they're experiencing. You can't have opinion. You can have opinions, I guess, but there's no point being judgmental about other people's way of life unless you have some kind of experience. Now, you don't necessarily need to experience being someone who's on narcotics whilst driving to know that that's a bad idea. That's just common sense. But there are other things that you have to experience before you decide that it's just not for you. Everything in moderation, everything in balance. Okay, I'm gonna go and start my day, and I will see you guys soon. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.